From The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. The books that the world calls immoral are books that show the world its own shame.
Welcome back to the Reading Room Ruffians, your favorite library podcast. It's just the Three Musketeers today, while our Supreme Overlord Carla is out. This is Mallory. I am still on the run, but I stopped just for you. Feels special. Back home at our library in Jackson County is my shiny collecting BFF Ariel.
It's that crow brain.
Joining us from Seattle, Washington is Zach the Brave. You can decide why he's brave.
I don't remember why I'm brave. Oh no, it's because I had to put up with you guys.
Hey.
Nobody else would do so much.
Hey.
I do not have access to what's coming up in our library for September, so we're just gonna skip that today.
Not
so
much.
Sorry.
Not much is coming up.
Yeah.
Nobody's giving me anything, so I can't tell you.
Okay, good. Well, that's on them then. All right, cool. So today we're doing a book chat, and you're welcome. I've read 5 books on my vacation, which is insane to me.
It's a decent number of books.
So yeah, especially because 4 of them were on my Kindle and 1 was an actual book. Like, I don't know who I am right now.
I, at most, have 2.5 books to talk about, and at least 1.5. I
read 3 books this week.
Jesus. I'm in a book funk.
That's wild.
Okay, well, I guess you probably shouldn't go first.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say, who wants to start?
I can start. I read a few. I mean, most of the ones I read are kind of smaller. Let's see here. Did I talk about... When was the last time we did a book chat?
See, that's what
I don't know.
It's been forever, but I know the last couple of books.
Have I talked about...
Most of my Goodreads is just podcast stuff, so...
Yeah.
I know where I can pick up.
Shark Heart?
No, you have not talked about that.
Oh my god, I got like 15 books to talk about. Sheesh.
No.
All right, I'll be brief with some of them. Some of them are very quick. Anyway, so Shark Heart is a book by Emily Habbock, and the whole premise is that there's this world where people can effectively just mutate randomly, and they turn into animals. They just become an animal.
Fun.
So this guy, he's diagnosed with I can't remember what it's called, but it's like Carcar or something, because like Carcharodon is shark or whatever, or Carcarius or whatever. Anyway, he's diagnosed with, basically, he's going to become a shark. And it's about, a good chunk of the book is about his relationship with his wife while he is turning into a shark. And it's like a fairly slow process. It's like, it takes something like a year or so to actually happen. And it's an interesting book. I thought that they sort of like did a bunch of like interesting things, but then just stopped too soon or forgot about characters, it felt like. And also the main character and his wife just seemed useless to me. I don't know. Especially the wife. She's apparently this like super smart, perfect, wonderful person. And I don't know. Let me see did I write anything down about this? It's been like, this was back in May when I read it, so it's been a little bit.
Good grief.
No, I just wrote my boy went off the deep end, so that's not a great review.
I know why you have so many books. You weren't in the last book chat.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
Because it was the Bigfoot festival that we talked about and then had a book chat, and it was just me and you.
Yep,
okay.
Yep.
Well, anyway, this book, it was a fun little thing, but I don't know. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't think it was the greatest. The characters are kind of flat, and then I didn't like a lot of them because they're just stupid. Also, the main guy, he meets this other shark when he finally gets released into the wild, and she's very nice. She helps him out a lot, and he's just like a butt to her. And I'm like, Bro,
Oh.
she is literally saving your life out here, and you find her too annoying to hang out with, and he just like scares her off basically because he's too
Rude.
mean. Yeah, it wasn't good. Get down. Good God. All right. I'll just do a couple here real quick and then
Yeah.
pass it off. So we talked about Flatland. Okay, the next one, Night of the Mannequins. This is by Stephen Graham Jones, who is the guy who wrote that.
Isn't it The Only Good Indians?
Yeah, the Only Good Indians book with Elkhead Woman.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, this was, I thought, a very fun book. It was absolutely buck wild, again, because his books seemed to be. And basically what this one was all about was this guy who, when he was younger, he's still pretty young, he's like a teenager in high school or whatever, but when he was a little bit younger, he had this mannequin, him and his friends, and they would like just leave it places for the other people to find and dress it up or put it in weird poses or whatever, and they kept just doing this, leaving it around all over the place, but they forgot about it. And then one time they brought it to a movie theater to play a trick on one of their friends who worked at the movie theater, and the dude swore he saw the mannequin get up and leave. And then the rest of the book is about him justifying killing all of his friends to make sure that the mannequin doesn't kill them first and take their families with them.
This sounds fantastic.
It was a very weird book, and it was pretty funny.
I want to
I
read it.
enjoyed
Night
it.
of the
Oh my
Mannequin.
gosh.
Night of the Mannequins.
I'm going to read this. I love this.
You know, okay, but like on a scale of 1 to Mallory's totally out, how scary was it?
Oh, it wasn't scary, I don't think.
It was just like crazy.
It was just kind of crazy. I mean, honestly,
All right.
well, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but the kid just kills all his friends. I mean, straight up murks them all. And he's like justifying it the entire time. It's like, but
That
I have
seems
to do
be,
this
like, a
because
theme.
I was going to say,
because
that
the
sounds
mannequin, I mean,
exactly
he's
like
getting
the
bigger.
Indian book.
Yeah.
Like what?
That must be like a theme he has.
The Only Good Indians.
Yeah. Like he's a horror writer. Actually, saw a fun thing about Stephen Graham Jones. I saw him talk recently over here, and he seems like a fun guy. I didn't get to actually talk to him afterwards though, because the line was too big and I had to do stuff. But
Did he have a mushroom cap?
he did not. He had just a regular
Ooh.
baseball cap.
Oh. You said he was a fun guy. I was just making sure.
Oh, ha 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 ha. I see what you did
So
there.
sorry. So sorry.
All right, I will go ahead and pass it on to, I guess, you, Mallory.
Okay. Well, we're probably going to have a hot take here. Maybe a couple of them.
Ooh.
I read Dune. And it wasn't terrible, but I'm not going to continue the series. And I also gave it 4 stars.
Oh my gosh, what?
I
You gave
specifically.
Dune 4 stars?
Yeah, I did. And here's why. This was my review. I am knocking off a star simply because I feel as though this all could have happened in about 200 less pages if we were going to jump around in time. So but otherwise it was a great story. And I really don't think that I will. It ended at a place that was fairly fine for me. I could continue the story, but I don't know that I really. It's fine.
I mean, I always tell people that they don't have to read past the first book, so.
Yeah. So that was that one for me. I was very surprised. And yeah, it got to the end and I was like, we did all of this time jumping or whatever. And it was still such a long book. Why? It was a really good story though. I mean, whatever.
It's okay. It's only the best sci-fi book ever written. Cool.
I don't know about that, but that's fine. I guess my next one, everybody's going to be probably really upset about. I also read Wolf Song.
Okay, now I would
And
like to hear your opinion on this one because it was...
I gave that one 3 stars.
3 stars?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's terrible for you.
I think, yeah. I mean, oh my God. There were just so many reasons I could not. I was so over this book So many different times. I think I complained about it almost the whole book.
Yeah, she talked about this book to me while she was reading. Like, she didn't give any spoilers or anything like that. And I had it checked out, and I returned it before even opening it.
Okay, now you had to tell me what are some of these problems you had with this book.
Okay, this is specifically my review. This is a review I never thought I'd leave. I wanted to love this book so much, but just could not. So what I did love, Ox, he was an awkward little baby, and then Joe was a great character, and I would protect him with my whole life. And then really all of the characters are fantastic. I mean, like, that's legitimately not the problem at all. The story, the setting, like, not the story. Okay, so the general storyline and a lot of the journey, and then the setting, the writing, and like how everybody works together, like the found family aspect, all of that is great. So this is going to be a spoiler for anybody, and I don't think that Ariel wants to. I think I sent you my review, didn't I, Ariel?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the age gap was such a problem for me, and I know it's like different for wolves, whatever, but I'm just way out the whole way. It was just gross. And I even don't like this in like other romanticities, like the whole ACOTAR thing. This 500-year-old elf is like creeping on a 16-year-old girl. Like, are we gross? I don't know. I don't know why we're okay with this ever. Anyway, so the 16-year-old kid and a 10-year-old is whenever the 10-year-old like says that he wants to be with Ox the rest of his life. That is just so weird to me. I can't get past it. So, and then I also felt
I didn't think it was romantic at first, but it definitely became that towards like when he was getting still in a problematic age of like 16, 17. Yes. So, no, yes. I get you.
Yeah. And like, I kind of, yeah. Even before Joe started, like, I mean, for Joe, it was always that. For Ox, it wasn't. Like, I get that. But it still is so weird to me. And it was like, oh, well, it's wolves, so it's different. And I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. No. So anyway. And then the story itself, I felt like just in the first like 20% of the book, probably because this is a long book, I really felt like I had already heard 3 complete stories. Like, beginning, middle, and end. And so like, I was like, I don't know what we can accomplish from here. Because there was still so much left to do, I thought. But we had already covered so much. And it just kept going like that. So it just kind of went on. And I think maybe after, like, coming off of Dune, and that also being a really long book, I couldn't get into it. I couldn't do it.
Isn't Wolfsong longer than Dune? I feel like it is.
I think actually Dune was like 21 hours, and Wolfsong was, I think, 19 or 20.
Okay, so they're about the same. Yeah.
So I will leave that there. So, Ariel, you can go.
Okay. So I will just talk about one at a time since I don't have very many. Have I mentioned we have always lived in this castle?
I don't believe so. I haven't heard this one.
No, I don't think in a book chat. I know that you've talked about it to me. Like whenever you checked it out.
Okay, so I've been trying to find a horror book for our deep dive in October. And this book is like similar to how Piranesi, I was like, what's the point? All right. Like it had a good plot up until the end. And then I was like,
yeah,
why? Why? Okay. So it's about these 2 girls and their uncle live in this house on like the outskirts of town. And there's a path leading to their house, and this road continues to go on past to like this other town. Well, they put a gate up and wouldn't let anybody use that road or path to like that passes by their house. They wouldn't let people come around. The uncle is out of his mind and in a wheelchair. The older sister is like a recluse. She won't leave because she's terrified. So they send the younger daughter to town to get supplies, and the entire town hates them all. right? So she has to deal with that. And I don't know how old this girl is. It never says. But she gives me like 13, 14 years old vibes. And the reason they hate everybody or they hate this family is because there was a dinner party at their house once and everybody except for the 2 daughters and the uncle ended up dying. They were poisoned with arsenic.
Oh my God.
Okay.
And like the older sister washed the sugar dish, and that was a big thing in the court thing. And she's like, I didn't do anything. I didn't kill them. And she ended up not going to jail, but ever since then, she's like been a recluse, right? And like there's this one old couple that stops by the house periodically. Well, then their cousin shows up, and it's like her uncle's other brother. Like there's their dad, the uncle, and then like there's another brother. Right. And their dad, I think, is dead. I'm not sure. He's either dead or ran off. And then this other uncle apparently died. And the cousin was like, okay, I can come talk to these people now. So he shows up and the younger girl hates him. And he's like wrecking everything. And I'm pretty sure that he's trying to hook up with the oldest daughter.
Oh.
Like they're trying to think. And he's trying to get rid of the younger one.
Oh.
Yeah. And the younger one, she's weird. Like, she's weird. She talks to her cat. She sleeps in the woods periodically. She'll take things and bury them in the yard. And her sister's like, oh, you know how she is. She just likes to bury things.
Oh, yeah. People just do that.
Like, she
Oh my
nailed a book to a tree to set up a boundary around their house to keep bad things out. Like they're crazy. They're all crazy.
Oh my God.
And that's what this whole book is about. Is about the younger sister trying to get rid of the cousin trying to get rid of her, and everybody being absolutely weird. And then she sets a fire in his room to run him off because he smokes. You know, she's like trying to frame him. The whole house burns down except for like 2 rooms.
Oh my gosh.
And the town comes when the house is on fire. And they start throwing rocks through the windows. And they went into the house after it got, like, it stopped burning. And they tore up their house and were breaking all their dishes. And, like, all this crazy stuff. And then after that, I'm telling you the whole book because it's just, there's, like, I don't even know. I don't know why people would read it. And the 2 daughters move back into this house. And they live in the living room and the uncle's room, who also died. He died in the fire.
Oh. Okay.
Of course.
And they live in the kitchen in the uncle's room. And they won't open the door for anybody at all. And people keep on leaving them food on their porch to apologize for, like, wrecking all their crap. Like, I'm sorry I broke all your dishes. Here's some dinner. Like, what? And then the book ends. Okay, so this whole story, everything, and you think, oh, they're finally going to move away and get out, or, you know, something's going to happen. And it just ends like, you know, the younger sister looks at her older sister and she's like, this is our new routine now. And they're all happy. And then it ends. What? Like I didn't give you all the details to everything that happens in this book, but like that's essentially what happens. That's it. There's more, but there's not. I don't understand.
Oh man, I love that. We're gonna have to put that on a new shirt for you. There's more, but there's not.
You know, stuff happened in the book.
Amazing.
It's like it doesn't even make sense.
No.
Like the younger daughter got mad once because the cousin went to town to get supplies and she didn't. But she hated going to town to get supplies.
Oh my
gosh. And she called him a ghost. She was convinced he was a ghost.
Oh.
It was wild. Crazy dream. Oh, and here's the big twist. Okay? If you don't want to know what happens in this book, don't listen next.
Skip ahead.
The younger sister, she poisoned everybody.
Oh.
And the sister knew about it and covered for her.
Oh. That's even better.
Yeah, she intentionally killed everybody because she knew that her sister didn't use sugar. She doesn't use sugar, and their uncle used very, very little sugar. So she knew he would be okay too.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
that sounds like a Buck Wild book.
So
even though it was pointless, apparently.
It was very pointless. This will not be our deep dive. I'm not picking this.
All right, sounds good.
It's dumb. Anyway, so that's one of them. I have 1.5 more, so go on. Somebody else.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go again. Let me look at my books again here. So, Snow Crash. I read Snow Crash, which is a fantastic book about a guy. This is in the future times where corporate entities have taken over basically everything. Everything is a corporation, including like the mafia and all that stuff. They're like all legal entities. All of the different, like there's no United States anymore. You have these things called burbclaves where you have like basically a little suburb that's like its own independent nation a lot of the time. Stuff like that. It's just wild. It's basically dystopia if corporations took over everything. This is one of the like first big, it coined the term metaverse. What is the word I'm looking for? Oh, beans. Not augmented reality. Virtual reality type things. Anyway, this thing called coined the term the metaverse. There's 2 different chunks of the book that take place in, like, you got the real world stuff and then you got the metaverse stuff. And the main character, his name is Hero Protagonist. Hero spelled Hiro, but his last name is Protagonist. Which is, I thought it was hilarious. He starts off as a pizza delivery man for the mafia, called a deliverator, I believe. And then he also is like a world-class hacker. He's like one of the best ones in the world. And he carries around a katana everywhere so that he can be hardcore, I guess. I don't know. And he's the best sword fighter in the metaverse. This is all actual true stuff too. It's not like him just boasting about it. He's actually the best one ever. Oh. Anyway, he crashes his car into a pool because he was trying to make a delivery for a pizza, and the time was almost out. And this is like a big deal. So if you order a pizza and it doesn't get there in time, then it's a huge deal. Probably the deliverator who was supposed to deliver it gets murdered by the mafia, and there's like a bunch of stuff that happens. Anyway, this whole book is like kind of silly about that sort of stuff. The actual main part of the book, though, is about this thing called Snow Crash, which is it's basically something that can be a computer virus or like sort of a mind virus type thing. And the idea is that if you show the specific sort of bit pattern, like it just looks like static, but if you show it to somebody who is a hacker, right, or somebody who works with computers a lot, everybody who works with computers a lot is called a hacker in this book, then it can basically shut down their brain, completely rewrites it or whatever. And they start babbling and whatnot. Because magic. Full future magic. Don't worry about it. This is actually a really complicated book. And like it gets very metaphysical and very philosophical about stuff at points. I think my main complaint about it was that it kind of explained things explicitly a little bit too much for more like the dumber type people. But I mean, it's Neil Stephenson. I think he's a fantastic writer, and I love this book. I thought it was great. I would recommend it to people if you like if you just like sci-fi in general and sort of goofiness. But it's a longer book, and there's a bunch of crazy stuff that happens in it. I don't know. There's a main character in there. Her name is called her name is not YT, but she calls herself YT, and YT stands for yours truly. I don't know. Nice. She's goofy. She's also a sword delivery person. She's called a courier, and she rides around on a skateboard and delivers stuff. And she's like 15, and there's some like weird sexual stuff that happens with her like all the time. Like people be looking at her and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just it's awkward at times. If she was a little, they could have made her 18 and it would have been fine, but they didn't. They made her 15 still, and it was creepy. But the rest of the book is very good. So I would recommend reading it. It's a lot of stuff happens. I can't really summarize it aside from the fact that there's this thing called snow crash. They're trying to stop it, and for some reason, all of this stuff hinges on the fact that back in the day, there may have been a single sort of universal language, right? You've heard of the Tower of Babel, maybe? It's like basically based on that. And they think it could have come from space. And it's a way of programming people to know and understand and do things, like how to harvest stuff and whatever. It's just, it's weird. I can't remember what they call the actual, I guess, sort of human verbal programs that they give to people, but it's a complicated bunch of stuff, so I would say you had to read it to really get it, because I'm not going to be able to summarize right now off the top of my head. Anyway, so that's that book. And I told basically none of it, so I told like the first 5 minutes and then like the basic premise, but there's all kinds of crazy stuff that happens in there. There's a dude walking around with a nuke in his motorcycle. There's like, it's crazy stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before you go on, I don't know if you've started the Kaiju Preservation Society. I have a little bit, and they talk about this book a lot.
So I finished Snow Crash, and then I started that book right after. And I was like, oh, I just read this.
Yeah, that's really funny.
Yeah. Because they're like, hey, isn't Deliberator from Snow Crash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he like did his dissertation or his thesis or whatever.
Yeah.
On science fiction.
Yeah, he was doing it. Yeah, because he didn't graduate. Yeah. But
that was great.
Anyway, that's a good book. So, the next one, Mallory, you should be happy about this. I finished The House Witch.
Oh. If you didn't love this, I'm going to punch you.
I did like it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun book. The premise is you got this guy. He's a house witch. He goes to a castle, makes a bunch of friends, and he's really standoffish and kind of rude to everybody, but everybody loves him despite this. And he's a house witch, so all of his powers have to deal with, like, you know, the home. Cooking, cleaning, protecting, all that good stuff. And it's a nice, cute little romance thing. And I don't know, it's a fun little book. I like the world building in this one a lot.
Yeah.
It was fun. I think that it was a little too cutesy at times for me, but that's sort
fair.
of what you're getting into with that sort of book. I expected it. Let's see if I put anything on. I said my only real criticism is that the author used some words like way too much, like instantly. Who's this author? What's their name again?
Delumhawk. I think it's a pen name though. I don't know.
Delumhawk, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Delumhawk uses the word instantly too much. Like way too much. So that kind of drove me crazy. But aside from that, I did enjoy the book. It was very cute. There's a bunch of cute little interactions with everybody. And the main character is... You can see where he's coming from, but he's also an idiot a lot of the time about how it deals with people.
That's very fair.
Yeah. But still.
I think probably my favorite part about that is just it's a man, like a male character who is not your typical, like, I'm a big tough man, but he was like still the protector, still the provider. Like, I really loved that.
Oh,
he was a very big softie, even though he could still kick butt.
Yeah. I mean, he was very, very capable, but he was, he did not come off as like this macho man or anything like that. He's just like a tall, skinny redhead guy. I mean,
yeah.
He's apparently some kind of intimidating sometimes, but for the most part, everybody's just like, oh, he's just the cook, whatever. Oh, the other thing about this book is that it's felt weird the way that they were talking. They used like they sort of mixed modern terminology with like the old-timey stuff at the same time, and that sort of like threw me out of the book a few times, but aside from that, it was good. Was the House Witch, this feels like something like it was one of those like an online sort of novel that's written and then published later on, if that makes sense.
I don't know. Yeah. But they've now have, I think, 2 other spin-off series in this world. I won't say who they're from, like the perspectives, because it's spoilers from the first 3, but
okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Anyway, those are the ones I've been reading recently. You want to go ahead again, Mallory?
Yeah. How many more do you have?
Oh, wait a second. She is the author of a popular online series. It is an online series.
Oh, okay.
So it felt like that when I was reading it, just because of the use of language. Almost all of these online-only authors, for the most part, write similar to this with their language.
Yeah.
They have something fantastical, but then use modern language a lot of the time. I've got like a bunch more, but I'm going to group a bunch of them together, so we're fine.
Okay. I have 5 more. I've
got about 5 more. I've got about 5 more.
Okay. All right. Cool. So my next one is A Study in Charlotte, which was our book club book last month. For August. That's still this month. Okay, sorry. Anyway, that's by Brittany Cavallaro, and I gave it 5 stars. It was a cute little YA book. It's like a little murder mystery. So Charlotte Holmes is a descendant of Sherlock Holmes. No surprise there, but the book is from the point of view of Jamie Watson, who is a descendant of, obviously, Dr. Watson. And the families are not always, together, although there usually is at least one Watson and one Holmes that like bonds from a generation. It's this whole weird thing. Jamie gets a scholarship to play rugby, even though he says that he's not that good. He's like, I don't understand. So he has to leave London to go live with his dad in Connecticut, I think. And he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, what a downgrade. Sheesh.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I guess he doesn't really want to play rugby anyway, but the fact that he got a scholarship was like the dumbest thing. He's like, I don't even want to be there. Why? And it was whatever, a whole big thing. So then he's told that there will be a Holmes there. And he's like, oh, okay, well, maybe like, I'll have a friend and yada, 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 whatever. And it just, his whole entire time, I really would call Jamie Watson an absolute cinnamon roll. Like, everything that goes wrong for that kid really does. But he's still like just so nice and is like, well, I mean, I guess it's par for the course. What are we going to do about it? They end up being framed for murder and an attempted murder. And I think 2 more attempted murder. I can't remember. There's a lot of murder and attempted murders. And finding out who it is, honestly, the who did it was kind of wild. It was definitely a twisty-turny, like, we did a couple of turns on ourselves, and I don't know, it was fun. It was very atypical because they weren't together the whole time, and there wasn't really a romance aspect to it. Like, Jamie has, like, some sort of feelings for Charlotte, but it's not really a main focus of the book. So, like, that is right up my alley, which is hilarious for the rest of my books. But anyway, yeah, I liked it. It was fun. It was really easy to read. I read it as a physical book, and I read it in less than a week, which is insane for me. So, that's it.
My turn?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so this is another one. Oh, that last book that I talked about, I only gave it 4 stars. This one, I also only gave 4 stars.
Well,
Okay.
you seem like you hated that book. You only You gave it 4 stars, not like 3 or 2.
Yeah. Because it was like a weird story, but I enjoyed it up until like the last part. And I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Okay. So this other one, it's called Nestlings by Nat Cassidy. And, and it has a fantastic cover. That's what caught my attention because we both know that I don't read synopsises. But on the cover, it says this is the horror book of the year. No, it is not. No, it is not. Okay. And the reason I gave it 4 stars, I actually mentioned in my review of it. So I'm probably going to tell you way too much information about this book too, because I don't have a whole lot to talk about. But this book is about a woman who, within the last year, has become disabled and is stuck in a wheelchair. Her husband and their newborn baby. Apparently what happened is when she had her baby, she refused to get an epidural, was in labor too long, somehow messed up her spine while giving birth, and it put her in a wheelchair. Okay? So she's like dealing with postpartum depression and the fact that she is now disabled. Right? So that's a lot. That's a lot of crap. And I get her being so depressed. Well, they won a apartment lottery and got to move into this really fancy apartment building on like the 18th floor. Yeah, and she's not happy about that, but she could tell her husband wants to be there, so she's like, okay. Let me preface before I go any farther. I hate her husband, and he got what was coming to him.
We love that.
So they move into this apartment, and her baby, who is just about a year old, like her birthday happens in the book. Like I think she's maybe a month away from being a year old. Is like really fussy and crying a lot, and they don't understand why. And her husband goes to work, and she records audiobooks, smutty audiobooks. That's what her job is. And he won't pick up the piece that she needs for her sound booth because he keeps forgetting because he's too obsessed with reading a book and flirting with this actress that lives in a different part of the building who is like twice his age.
Ooh, going with them cougars.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways. So she can't figure out what's wrong with her child. She's pretty sure she saw a gargoyle move. She's getting really paranoid. And her husband is like, it's probably just stress from the move. You'll get used to it. The baby will get used to it. It'll be fine. Well, at one point he goes to work, and she's trying to work on her stuff, and she goes into the closet to record the audiobook because her baby's sleeping and she needs to get some work done, and he still hasn't picked up the part. And she plugs everything in, and she can hear her neighbor through the wall. Like it's picking up through the mics and playing back into her headphones. And she hears what sounds like sobbing, right? So she's like, that sounds really bad. And she can hear a baby crying too. So she gets it back in her wheelchair, goes to the next door neighbor, knocks on the door, and the neighbor comes to the door and opens the door, and she's like just in a robe, like she's halfway exposed. She has like all these like sores all over her body. She looks emaciated, and her apartment is like pitch black behind her, right? And she steps out of the apartment and starts talking to whatever the main girl's name is. I can't even remember. I hated this book. And like they talk for a bit, and she's like, she can clearly tell that there is something wrong with this woman. And the woman tries to throw herself over the stairs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But the like concierge, is that what they're called? In hotel?
Concierge, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He shows up and he's like, oh, Miss So-and-so, let's take you back to your apartment. You hear your baby? It's crying. It probably is hungry. And he takes her back into her apartment. Like he goes in there with her. And she's like the main girl's like, I don't know what to do. She's like, what am I going to do? I'm in a wheelchair. Well, she ends up going back to her apartment, and she thinks about her periodically, but, nothing is ever done. And then fast forward a bit in the book, then they have the birthday party. And there's still weird stuff going on, but they're like, okay, we'll go ahead and have the birthday party. And all these kids come over, and everybody's all weird with her. And, like, she only has, like, one friend there, and everybody else is, like, people her husband knows. And she goes to the bathroom while all the other parents go up onto the roof because they want to see the view. And so they leave all the kids with her and her friend, and she goes to the bathroom. Well, apparently her daughter bit another boy.
Oh.
Yeah. And it freaked her out because she's like, it ripped away part of this kid's skin, and it was like Velcro. Like, it was weird, right?
The skin was like Velcro?
Yes.
That's weird.
Yes, it was weird. It was really, really weird. All right. And at this point, the husband is, up on the roof with his friends, and he sees this actress lady who he is now working for. He got mad, quit his job, and started working as a personal assistant for her.
Convenient.
Yeah, I know, right? And he's like weirdly protective of her and doesn't want anybody else to see her. And they talk for a minute, and then she goes back inside, and he goes back to his friends, and they go back downstairs. And the mom of the boy who got bit is like freaking out, obviously. Everybody leaves, and they get a phone call later that, the little boy has running like a super high fever and is really sick. And they're like, what the heck is going on? So, yeah. And then the husband ends up going to a party later with this actress lady. And he sees these people there who seem like they're really on drugs, right? He's like, this is weird. Well, then one of those people throw up. And I think it's the actress. I honestly think it's the actress. I can't remember for sure, but she like instantly goes down there and starts licking up the vomit.
What?
Right?
No.
Right?
I am so far out. Oh my gosh.
What is this book?
Wait, this isn't even the end. This isn't even the end.
Oh my god. Ew.
Like, so much crazy crap happens in this book. And I'm so I was so angry the whole time.
Oh god.
Yeah, and he's just like, what is happening? And she's like, oh, sorry, I couldn't help myself. And he's just like, whatever, it's okay.
Oh my god. He does deserve everything he gets.
Oh my god. All right. Well, okay. So then some other crap happens, some crazy stuff happens, but I'll skip to the end because this is like absolutely insane. Their baby will not eat now. It will only eat very, very sweet things. Right?
Oh, I was going to say it will only eat the flesh of other children.
Yeah.
You got the taste.
Baby.
No. And the mom is home with the baby, and dad, I don't even know where the dad's at, but he's somewhere. And she sees one of these gargoyles coming through the window, and she's like, oh no. So she grabs her baby and she rolls out into her living room and shuts her baby into this sound booth thing because, it cuts off the cries and whatnot. And grabs something and puts it in her lap to make it look like her baby. And she goes out into the hallway trying to make them think that she's leaving with her child. And the gargoyle and the what did we say it was?
Concierge.
Yeah. Is there. And essentially she gets shoved down the stairs.
Oh.
And so she ends up in the hospital. And her husband goes to the hospital to see her when he realizes, hey, she's in the hospital. And yeah. And then he's like, oh my God, the baby. I think the baby's name is Charlie now that I think about it. But anyways, he's like, oh my God, our baby, where's she at? And she's so out of it that she's convinced that it's vampires that are in their house, right? And so he's like, got this in his brain that it's vampires. So he goes back to the house and he finds the baby. And he goes to talk to this Jewish man because he's Jewish about vampires.
Oh.
and
What?
and how to kill him.
Sounds like they got gargoyle issues, not vampire issues.
Well, turns
and
out
weird, creepy vomit lickers.
Okay.
God,
just
quit
wait,
talking about it.
just wait. So he does that. He goes back and meets with the actress lady. The actress lady takes his child and she's holding him. And the baby loves this actress lady, right? Doesn't want to be with her dad, wants to be with this actress lady. He finds out that the actress lady is one of these vampires. They're not actually vampires, but you know. And that they have infected his daughter with the same thing. That's how they reproduce. And they have to use children that are almost a year old. And that's why there's these people who win this apartment lottery are always parents with an almost 1-year-old. Right?
That is weirdly specific.
And she's like,
yeah, it is.
She's like, you can work for us. You can, help us. We need people like you. And then you'll get to see your daughter grow up. And he's like, all right. It's so good. Sounds good. He's like, but I want my wife to be able to work with you too. And can you fix her? And the actress is like, sure. She's not thrilled with the idea, but she's like, sure. And he ends up, like, the wife comes back and he ends up capturing her and locking her in this sound booth. Oh. And he's like, you just have to listen to me. And he explains everything. And he's like, it's all going to be okay. Well, she ends up breaking her sound booth to get out and then bashing him in the head and taking the baby and heading out. And no. The baby's with the actress lady. The baby's with the actress lady right now. And she tries to, like, ease herself down the stairs. Like, she gets out of her wheelchair and tries to ease herself down the stairs. Well, he grabs her, puts her back in the wheelchair, and he's like, you're coming back to the apartment with me, blah, 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 blah. Well, she ends up throwing herself and him down the stairs.
Oh, girl.
Yeah. And it breaks his back, and he can't move. And I was like, yeah, because I hated him, right? She ends up fighting off a bunch of gargoyles and stuff like that and finds her baby in the basement with the mother of these gargoyles. Like the vomit lickers are the gargoyles when they get old. They turn into gargoyles.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And they are licking up the insides of people where they are, like, it's like a spider. You know how, like, it turns to liquid?
Yeah.
It's like that.
It's not gross or anything. Thank you.
Okay, so the mom is like, she ends up killing the mother and leaving her child. And then she just goes. She just goes. And she tells everybody that her husband ran off and that she couldn't handle the stress of everything and gave her daughter to her mom. So this was also not going to be a deep dive. And the only reason I gave this 4 stars is because there's an afterword from the author, and it was so good.
I don't know. This sounds like a fun book. I don't know why we didn't read it.
Read it. Go ahead and read it. Anyway, so yeah, I know that was a lot. That was a long description, but, like, you had to know.
That wasn't a description. That was just the story.
It really wasn't.
That was a summary.
It really wasn't, though. That's the thing.
No, don't tell me.
There is so much more that happens. Like, the apartment lady, her neighbor, stuff happens with that. With the Jewish man, stuff happens with that. With the kid that got bit, stuff happens with that.
Anyway, I guess I'll go into my next one. I think this will be... I can probably do all the rest of these in one go, I figure. There's a bunch of books, but they'll be quick. Okay, so I finished up Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is by Philip K. Dick. It's the one that Blade Runner is based off of. I feel like I've talked about this one a little bit. I probably talked about when I was reading it a bit.
You
but
have,
anyway.
yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, well, I started it a while ago and I just finished it. Anyway, it's fantastic. You guys should all check it out. Everybody should check it out. If you like Blade Runner, this is... I'm not going to say it's not as good. It's a very different feel than The movie, the character's name is the same, but aside from that, and like the basic premise, aside from that, they're not the same sort of movie. This one makes you really think about what makes people human, though, and it's just very interesting. I don't know. Check it out, everyone. And just as a brief summary, the whole thing is you've got these things called replicants. They are basically androids, or they're organic robot type deals. They get sent off to different planets, Mars in this case, to help do all the work and stuff like that. They've got a limited time that they are alive, and they all want to escape and get away, right? From that and just go live and be people. But the issue is they don't have empathy for other people, or other things in general. So they can detect whether these replicants are replicants or not by giving them these tests that see, like, their reactions, basically. The main guy, Deckard Cain, he's somebody who retires or murders these guys, these replicants. They're not people, so it's not murder, I guess. That's what they say in the book. But it ends up sort of like in the movie and the book. The replicants are sort of more person-like in some ways than the people are. It's interesting. It's all about empathy and what makes people human. It's a very good book. It's short, too, so you can read this in no time, or you could take 15 years to read like I did. But it's a very good book. The next one is Son of a Lich, which is the second book in the Dark Prophet saga. I think the first one is called Orconomics. But it's basically, if capitalism was in a fantasy world, and this one is a lot about a lich, which is like an undead sorcerer type dude, or wizard, or whatever you want to call him. Undead magic user person, who is trying to basically kill all the people. And this book is hilarious because it just feels like, modern day, where you got a bunch of these hedge fund people who are trying to like run the world, basically. And they get screwed over because all of their investments go bad, because it turns out that the lich person is actually winning and taking over all this stuff, so they lose a ton of money. It's funny. I don't know. Wow. The main character is a dwarf, and he used to be a very high-ranked adventurer until something bad happened, and now he is no longer a high-ranked adventurer. Instead, he's just like some guy now. He's got a band of people who tries to stop the Lich from doing whatever he's doing, killing everybody. And one of the people in there is his father is actually the Lich. That's why it's called Son of a Lich, because one of the guys is there. Anyway, the book is very funny. It talks about economics a lot, but only in a vague sense.
I was going to say, economics is the worst.
Well, okay, so it is funny when I think it's the juxtaposition of the fact that you've got all of this fantasy crap happening, and then also they're talking about, purchasing things basically on the stock market, or there's an orc tribe and they have their philosophy is the art of aggressive selling, basically. So everybody's trying to market themselves, and it's just very strange, and it's very funny. Check out the first one, Orconomics. It's got a very good vibe. I thought the second one, was a little bit better. Personally, I enjoyed it more, but both are very good, and all the characters are very fun. But just that juxtaposition of, like, capitalism, which everybody is bad, and fantasy world is just hilarious. Like, the undead army controlled by the Lich, they're trying to figure out how they can better get a conversion rate from humans basically volunteering, or people, not just humans, like elves and whatever, volunteering to become part of the army, and they're sending out flyers, and they're doing focus groups trying to figure out specifically what sort of flyer would be the best to get people to come out and become, undead people by themselves. They've got like recruitment agencies and stuff like this. It's all very silly. The next one is Columbus Day, which I read. Didn't one of you guys read this too?
What was it?
Columbus Day.
Oh, yeah.
It was decent. It's pretty funny. It goes on a little bit long. Some of the comedy's a little bit juvenile, but I did like the AI in the book.
Yeah.
He didn't come in until like way later though than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
The basic premise here is that you have Earth is invaded by aliens, and you follow this one guy who is trying to fight against the aliens. They get transferred to a different planet. Turns out that they were fighting for the wrong aliens. There's two main sets that we talk about in this book. There's the Kristang, who are lizard people, and then there's the what are they called? They call them the hamsters the whole time, so I can't remember what they're actually called.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So the Kristang are like lizard people, and then the other ones, they look like hamsters. The hamster people are, go figure, the nicer ones, but they don't know that. So they're fighting for the Kristang at first. And they go to a different planet, like I said, do some training to hopefully fight the hamsters. Turns out that the Kristang are actually the more bad of the bad guys. Like, nobody's good in this book, like, as a general rule. The hamsters will actually have some compassion, though the lizard people do not. So, ends up, the hamster people end up taking back their world that the Kristang had been using as a training ground for the humans. The main guy, he escapes with the help of an AI, and then, they have a fun little adventure together trying to stop the lizards from taking over Earth and getting rid of all of them. The AI seems a little overpowered right now. It just feels like he's a little bit too much of a Deus Ex Machina by himself. It makes sense why he is. It just seems kind of silly sometimes. I don't know. Overall, it's a good book. It was funny. Sort of like a candy book. I don't know. I might continue on with the series. I'm not entirely sure yet, but the first one was pretty good. You can check it out. And then finally, I read 3 Murderbot books. 2, 3, and 4.
Murderbot!
And they're very good. I like the Murderbot series a lot. Murderbot is fantastic. I am missing Art, but I think he'll come back, so.
He does.
Okay, I figured he did, but I'm missing Art right now. I would say I liked the second one more than I liked the third and fourth ones. But they're all pretty good. They're all about the same like level of goodness to me. Murderbot is a fantastic character, and I like how he or she or it is having emotions sometimes, and it's pretty funny. If you guys haven't checked out Murderbot, they're very short little books. You can read them in a single sitting, no problem. The premise is you've got this person, he's a sec unit, or she's a sec unit. They're androgynous, it doesn't matter. I'll say it's a sec unit. They are a sec unit. I guess they do. They are more of a they. They are a sec unit, which is basically a robot / human type thing. They are made of cloned human parts and
machines,
robotic stuff, and they are just run security basically, and they have to do what they're told. But Murderbot, who is the main character, and that is what they name themselves, is they hack their governor module and try to figure out what in the world happened in their past because their memory got wiped, and then it's about all their little adventures through this universe, I guess. It's fun, though. They make a bunch of friends that they don't want to make, and they find out that they actually do have emotions and like people, and it's just funny because they really don't want to, and they really don't want to be a person, but they're kind of a person now. And
I feel that on a deep, deep level.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's good. I like it a lot. Each of the books is a separate own little story. They happen one right after the other. There is no gaps in time between these books. For the most part, at most it's like a couple days or a month or something like that. But yeah, it's good. It's fun stuff.
All right, so I'll talk about the next two at the same time. They're part of a series. The first one is A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic, and then the second one is A Fellowship of Librarians and Dragons. And I think Ariel and I kind of, like, we send each other videos about these, I think. The Fellowship of Bakers and Magic, we talked about it because, like, it has recipes in the back, and we were like, we need them.
Yep.
So I went to Kindle Unlimited and downloaded them. It's been months, and I haven't gotten around to them, obviously. So on vacation, I did. And A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic is about this human woman, and she is a fantastic baker in their little sleepy town. And she has 2 orcs that are neighbors. And let me see, she's trying to, like, save up enough money to buy a little storefront to open a bakery. And the market owner is a quokka, and I don't know if anybody knows what those are, but they're cute little mousy looking things. But he is very mean to her. He hates her because humans in this world do not have magic. They cannot have magic. They cannot use magic. And they're pretty much the only ones that can't. So every other kind of being does, and a lot of people see humans as less than because they can't use magic. So he just basically refuses to let her have a good spot to sell her baking stuff, which is fantastic. And she just kind of, like, struggles. And the 2 orcs that live next door to her are obviously, like, massive, humongous, terrifying looking beings, but they are the softest. Like, we love them. And they essentially helped raise her after her parents died at, I think, age 16. And they're essentially like her dad's, but she doesn't really see it that way. She just sees it as she's a burden. And so she tries to not let them help her any, but they kind of are just like, we're going to help you and you're going to like it. Get over it. One day, one of the orcs helps her home from the market and says, you should enter some of your baking stuff into the big bake-off that they have, I guess, every year. And she's like, I'm a human. I can't. I don't have magic. They've never let a human, practice in this, yada, 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 whatever. Well, he goes ahead and submits one for her. And she ends up getting an invitation to come bake off at the bake-off, whatever. And everything goes from there. They all kind of assume that she's a wizard because her last name is a wizard's last name, but she was adopted. No, not she was adopted, but there was an adoption, like, very far back in the family line. And the name just kind of, like, stayed. So she goes, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Some elf dude shows up and is kind of like, you're not a wizard? And she's like, no. And they go on this journey. It's a terrible journey. And they finally get there. It's also terrible. She meets her roommate, who is a phoenix. And the phoenix is very mean and very like, ooh, go away, don't breathe, don't talk, like, don't even look at me. And a person next door to her is a dwarf. And she is a sweet little ray of sunshine. So obviously they all 3 become best friends, and we go from there. I'm not really going to say what happens in that one, but the second book is about the dwarf, and I think the third book is about the phoenix. So, anyway, they're great little fantasy romances. They're actually pretty funny. Some of them are actually kind of feely too. Very light. I think I read both of them in like a day and a half. So, quick reads. The next one, I was on a kick here, Forged by Magic by Jenna Wolfhart. And that one is about a half-orc woman. And she is captive to this ice giant. And he has conquered like most of their world, essentially. And nobody likes him, but nobody can really escape him. Like, he conquered her city and took it over. They live there now. And she's been locked in a tower basically her whole life because she survived by hiding in rubble, whatever. And then instead of killing her, even though he killed pretty much every other orc, he decided to use her as an assassin and like only lets her out for basically merc missions. And he sends her out for this one final mission and says, there are rumors that there are dragons in Dragor who bond themselves with dragons and it's really bad magic and it's not good, yada, yada, yada. So he doesn't like them either. And she doesn't like them because that's who killed her parents. And so she goes on this mission. He's like, if you find and kill them, you're free. But I'm giving you 2 months, and if you don't return, I'm going to use this ice shard that I've embedded in your hip, and I'm going to turn you into ice, and you're going to die anyway. So, like, whatever. Nobody's been to this island where the rumors are coming from. And so, like, they're in this massive shipwreck. She washes up on shore, and there's, like, this elf dude standing over her, like, what you doing in my waters? And it kind of goes from there. She is essentially alone. Nobody likes her because they all know who she is. And they're trying to keep an eye on her and keep her from coming to their summer games. And it's essentially the island grants them, the winner of the summer games, a wish. And I mean, it'll grant pretty much anything except for like something that'll hurt somebody. And the elf dude has to, he's like, well, just be my assistant. Then you can't mess anything up. And it goes from there. It's a big, like, heroic display all the time. And very cute ending. Loved it. And by the way, all of these have been 5 stars. We're not surprised. And then the last one that I read was 2 Words I'd Never Say Again by Remy Carrington, which is the 3rd in a series that I've read for a while now. And this one is about, let me see, the original girl, Eve, her best friend, Haley, and then Haley's ex-sister-in-law, Nacha. Trying to remember what her
it's
actual
Nacho,
name is.
Actually. You're pronouncing it wrong.
That was a joke in the book, so yeah, whatever.
I made that joke. It probably is Nacha then.
It probably is, because I don't know. Yeah, anyway. I can't remember her full name, but anyway. She used to be married to Haley's brother. And Haley's brother, like, just after they were married, they bought a house together, and he goes to Colorado. They live in Texas, by the way. Goes to Colorado for some job and, like, doesn't take her with him. And so she's like, what? All right. So why are we married? And so basically files for divorce. And it's a whole big hurt there. Everybody's hurt. Nobody likes it. And you kind of figure out all the stuff that goes on. It turns out that actually Nacha never, like, signed and turned in her part of the papers, so they're not divorced. And the whole book is everybody, like, all the friends and family trying to get them back together. And is a whole, like, forced proximity kind of thing at first. And then, you know, we find out that the aunt made sure that they had a room together, and she thought he was in on it, and he wasn't. So it's just a whole big, you know, one of those. There's a happy ending. It's great. It's fantastic. There's really nothing to it other than that. So pick a Hallmark movie like that, and that's it.
I was going to say, it sounds exactly like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah. It's cute. It's cute, though. I did cry a lot on this one. This one had some feelings in it. But yeah, that was it.
Cool.
Okay, do you want to hear my
Ariel,
half
do your
book?
half book?
Yeah. Okay. So this was a did not finish book for me.
Ooh.
Oh, you like half book because you didn't finish it. So technically you finished it. In the sense that you're not done doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Technically.
It's called The Forest Demands Its Due by Kosoko Jackson.
That's a cool name.
Oh.
Kosoko.
I mean, it is, yeah. And it sounded like it was going to be really good. Like, killer forest. Right? Cool.
Isn't that just happening?
Kind of, I guess.
Oh, no, it's Fangorn Forest from the Lord of the Rings.
But not actually what happened in this book. It's about this boy who he's apparently, I want to say he's half black and gay. Right? So
he's half black and half gay?
No. Full gay. Full gay. That would be called bisexual. Anyways, him and his mother moved to this town because she got a job there after he went to court for murdering somebody that he doesn't remember actually murdering. I don't know. He set a house on fire, supposedly. I don't know if he actually did it, but people died. Anyways, they moved to this town. There's a curse on the town where if someone is taken by the forest, every single mention of them disappears. The parents don't even remember having children.
What?
Their classmates don't remember them. Nothing. Like every trace of them is gone. Right? The people in this town can't leave the town. There's like a barrier around it. The people on the barrier, their part of the curse is that they remember, but they can't leave. And then like every single person in the town has like some particular curse. Like, I don't know, like you're really good at stuff, but you get sick every Thursday. Just like random little curses like that. The forest has to have a sacrifice every now and then. And he goes to this private school where his mom works as a nurse. And the headmaster is one of these families. Like, I think there was like 5 families that originally offended this god and that put the curse on the town. And so the families remember, but they can't leave either. I don't know. So he shouldn't be able to remember the people that have been sacrificed in the forest, but he does. So the headmaster is like, you're going to figure out how to break this curse because you're not from here. You shouldn't be able to remember these people, but yet you do, and you have magic. I got so bored with it. So bored. Like, he's flirting with this dude, right? And I thought, okay, maybe there could be a little romance in this, whatever. No, the dude's going out on a date with a girl because he's bored and wants to date people. And he's like, if you don't want me to go, just say you don't want me to go. And the main guy's like, you're fine. Go ahead. Like, what are you doing? Stop being dumb. Anyways. And like, I'm halfway through the book and nothing has happened. Like, one kid got mauled by something. One kid ends up in the forest with the main guy. And he's dead, and he finds him, and the boy that he was flirting with is like, run. You need to get out of here. And he ends up talking to some, like, forest creature thing, but the forest creature thing is not a thing that, like, kills people. It's just like, the forest took this person. We're good now until the next sacrifice. Okay, and, like, we didn't see how he got sacrificed. There's no gore. There's nothing scary here. What is happening? This is not a horror book. Why did you make it seem scary? It's not. It's stupid. I'm bored.
Wow.
So I stopped. I was like, I was listening to it. It was a 10-hour book. I had 5.5 hours left. And I was 48% of the way through it. And I was like, I'm so bored. I don't want to listen to this. So I returned it. I was like, I'm done.
What's this book called?
The Forest Man's at Stew.
That's it.
Yeah. So, like, once again, not a deep dive pick. There's a couple that
You'll
found.
find one. You'll find one.
I wanted to read this one about puppets in the closet. And
God.
Carla was like, no. And I'm like, why? She's like, I can't handle puppets. I was like, but it's killer Sesame Street people. It's not Sesame Street people, but I mean, it sounds good. Sounds outrageous.
That does sound good.
But, so did these other books, and they were not. So who knows?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I almost didn't finish Wolf Song.
I had some trouble getting through that one after a while, just because it just kept going. It felt like it was a little bit too long, Just felt like it was a little bit too long. Could have made it shorter. I think I had that comment when I talked about it.
I hardly ever not finish books. Like, I usually force myself to get through them, but not that one.
Yeah, ditto.
Yeah.
I think I've only DNF'd one book, and it was The Magicians.
I think I've DNF'd to maybe 3 or 4 now.
I mean, there are books I have not finished, but I didn't DNF them. I just haven't finished them yet.
Yeah.
It's an H and F. Have not finished.
Gotcha. No, this one was like legit. I was like, this is stupid. I would have DNF'd The Only Good Indians if that hadn't been a deep dive pick.
Oh, speaking of him, I did read one more of his books. I forgot to say. It was I Was a Teenage Slasher.
Oh.
I'm an adult one now.
It's about this kid who
used to be a teenage slasher.
I mean, he did, but it's basically the whole premise is that it's about this kid who gets basically infected with being a slasher.
What?
Whoa!
It's like sort of like vampirism type deal, or like a zombieism type thing. He just gets infected with it, so he can he gets basically extra powers and abilities and things, but based on like slasher movies. Like, for example,
awesome.
if he has a limp, he moves incredibly fast. Right? When it's at night, he gets funky vision because it makes it easier for him to see and kill things.
Okay,
You can't trap
read this
him.
one too.
It's very fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
That one sounds great. Let's do that one, Ariel.
I wouldn't say it's really a horror book, but it's horror adjacent. It's pretty good though.
I mean, it's a slasher. We do that.
If nothing else, you should
Halloween.
definitely read it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You should check it out because I think of his books I have read, this has been the funnest one. Although I really did like The Only Good Indians. For different reasons. This one it's more like a story that I think it's more like a story you would actually like, Ariel. Like Night of the Mannequins. If you like Night of the Mannequins, you will like this, definitely, I will say.
All right. I'm struggling so bad, and I don't know if it's because I've read so many horror books that like things just aren't scary to me anymore, and I'm just like, oh, that's boring. But like, I can't even appreciate it for like, oh yeah, I can see where this would scare other people. Like Nestlings, that one was like, I could see where that would freak people out. It's a little creepy, it's a little gross. But I spent the entire time being so angry at that husband and annoyed with the wife for being so like, oh, poor me, that I didn't like it. I was like, this is dumb.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'd be like that.
So I don't know. Hopefully I'll find something that we can read. Maybe I should just pick one of the ones I want to read and not read it, and we can all hate it together.
That's probably a better plan, honestly.
Yeah.
Apparently not puppets, though. I really want to read House of Leaves.
Oh my god, if we ever read that, that's going to be like a multi-parter, I feel.
Yeah, it's like 700 pages.
It's super long, and it's so intricate and detailed, and I want to do research for it after I read it. So that
maybe we can set that as our deep dive for next year. Just start it now.
I mean, seriously, I've already started the book, and it is long. If you can you have to get a physical copy, though. If you can. Like, it's necessary. Do not listen to this book. I
was going to listen to it, though.
Don't listen to it, seriously.
Can I listen to it and have a physical copy so I can, like, annotate it?
That's probably a good idea, yeah. Actually, I might do something like that. Do like a read-along type thing almost.
Yeah, because, like, I could listen to it, and if there's something, I could pause it and, write my thoughts and mark it. And
Yep. Well, the thing is, if you look at the book, the pages are different. The text is different. I got one that's in color, so the colors are sometimes different on the text. It'd help a lot. But yeah, I will start reading that one because we're going to do a deep dive on it eventually. I want to
read it. I do want to read it. So there's actually, you know what? Actually, I might pick my deep dive as Manhunt.
Manhunt?
Mm-hmm. Either that one or The Hunger.
Yeah, Manhunt. This is the one where it's got the 2 plums or whatever.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
I sent that one to you.
Hold on it.
There's
yeah,
also
you did.
There's also The Hunger, which is about the Donner Party.
Either one of those would be good, I think.
So,
All right, I'm going to go ahead and put Manhunt on hold.
Okay.
Because it says there's a 3-week wait.
I have 2 credits in Audible, so I'll probably just use one of those.
All right.
I'm trying to hoard my Audible credits.
All right, this episode has been too long. Let's go ahead and close it.
Yep.
You're too long.
Yep. All right.
No, together we're 2 longs, if you think about it.
Not yet. My name hasn't changed.
Well, I guess at heart.
Yeah, at heart.
Originally.
Our next episodes will be Carla's Deep Dive, which was The Descent of Woman by Elaine Morgan, followed by Zach's nonfiction, The Chip Wars by somebody. I forget his name.
I forget the name too.
A new curiosity from Zach and Carla. Then we're going to do my nonfiction pick. I've decided to do Somebody Feed Phil, the book by Phil Rosenthal. I would like to preface this. I want everybody that's listening to go to Netflix, if you have Netflix, and watch the show Somebody Feed Phil. It is the most precious, wholesome show. I love it. It's like traveling and food and being kind to people. That's pretty much all it is. So we're going to do a book version of that. And then we're going to do Ariel's deep dive pick, which we've talked a little bit about. We're not really set in stone there. So yeah, that's what we have coming up. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. It's time for us to sign off, but before we go, only the best libraries have librarians who don't shush you.
Just judge your horror books. So disappointing.